Not everything can be collected by a long list of questions, as some information are still quicker and more intuitive for the user when presented in a standard form layout. Think, for example, of the flow to book an appointment for a service, the reservation for a room, or where you are collecting users' feedback. You have to ask for a lot of information, such as date, time, type of service, and so on. How can we marry conversation and flows? Xenioo Forms is the answer to this question. In this video, we'll see how to create forms that fully integrate with our flows. The first example of form is about the privacy opt-in. In this first text action, we inform the user about the use we will make of his data to provide him a better experience. Then we have the Xenioo form action, which is the element through which we will create our forms. In this case, I enter some simple text and a checkbox to accept the privacy policy. Finally, we have a text action that will be sent only to the user who has checked the checkbox. Now I launch the preview, and as you see, I received the first text action, then a button to proceed, procedi in Italian. This button was generated by the form itself, and it allows me to open the form. So I click on it, and as you can see, a new web page opens containing the form I built. Here we have some text, then some text again, and the checkbox on the right side. Now I will not check the checkbox intentionally, so I just click on the Save button. The page closes by itself and I go back to my preview, where I read that without my permission I cannot proceed. Now let's do another test, but this time I'm going to select the checkbox to see if I will receive the thank you message. Now I click on Save, wait for the page to close by itself, and I'm back in the chatbot, which thanks me for accepting the conditions, so it worked perfectly. Now I save and publish to see all this on the web channel. I open the chatbot, where I get the text and the button to open the form. I click on the button, and as you can see, I received the text and the checkbox to tick. So let's do it now, then click Save, and voila! I get the thank you message. Now let's try everything again without checking the checkbox to see which message I receive. I update the web page, I go back to the chatbot and press the button. Now I save again without checking the checkbox. This time I get the blocking message, and this is right, okay? The message tells me I have to tick the checkbox, otherwise I can't go on with the chatbot. Now let's move on with the second example. I move here, set this interaction as the starter one, and save. This time we will use the Xenioo form to create a login form. Inside, in addition to the settings, I added two fields. One which is pure text for the username, and one of the password type. I go to the site, update the page, and here is our new form asking to login. I click on Proceed, and next to it on the left you see a new area is open that contains the form itself, waiting for the username and password. Crazy! I fill my form with the username, password, and then click on Confirm, conferma in Italian. The form closes by itself, and I go back to the chatbot, which displays the username and password values just entered in the form. How did we do it? Simply by saving username and password in the relative variables that I call form user and form password, then display them in the chat. Let's go ahead and see the third and final example of a form. Let's move to the Flow Designer and set the new start interaction. In this case, we will use a form to book the consultancy service. As you can see, it is made up of fields, which you can add by clicking Add Form field. We will use a calendar field to choose the day, a time picker field to choose the start time, a numeric field to choose the amount of hours, the quantity, and a drop-down field to choose the topic of the consultation. So now let's save, we publish, and we move to the page of the website that has to be updated. A new welcome message awaits me and invites me to book the consultation. I choose the date in the calendar, the start time, the amount of hours, and the topic. Finally, I confirm and the form is closed, taking me back to the chat where we get the values I entered in the form itself. We use several fields, but not all of them already. So I show you how many fields you have by clicking on Add a field. You can see here a text box, password, text area, which you can use when you need to receive one or more lines of text from the user, number, time picker, date picker, calendar, checkbox, drop down, and file upload. You can also add layout elements that will make your forms even more beautiful and structured. I want to add the Chatbot marketing logo at the top of this form as the first element. So I use an image that I upload directly into Xenioo. I place it on top, I save and publish. Now I refresh my web page, click on the button, and here is my form that starts with the newly updated logo. Before we finish, one important thing. I showed you examples in the web channel, but forms can also be used in other channels, don't worry. Remember that you can always check for compatibility of actions, elements, and so on in the Xenioo documentation on the help page. In this case, I do the search by writing forms, I click the first result, then form container, and scroll down to the availability section. As you can see, they are available for Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, web, Slack, and API channel. Of course, forms are not available for voice assistant. We have seen something extremely interesting and useful, which solves many problems in conversational design. Now let's move on to the next video, where we will talk about integration and calls to external web services.